Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the GSMC Basketball Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. As always, I'm your host, Mayor Fatemi. We got a packed slate for you guys today. Another unbelievable slate of games last night. Starting, of course, with the Warriors and Houston Rockets late at night, the last game to be played for the night. We're going to start off there, recapping what happened there. Jalen Green playing and having he heard the critics. We heard everybody on the Houston offense heard the critics after game 1 that they can't match up with the Golden State Warriors. They can't stop them. Their defense is not enough to stop this Golden State offense. That is everything that we heard, and we also heard Jalen Green needing to step up. He did exactly that, dropping 38 points in this game too, and showing up and showing out in that game too last night. We're going to recap everything about that game to start off the show. From there, we're going to take a look at the Boston Celtics knocking off the Orlando Magic in their game too, without Jason Tatum, just pretty much flat out hustling them. We're gonna just recap that game overall because there was a lot to talk about in that game. It wasn't the most eye-opening game, but it was still a good game between a couple of squads between a tough Orlando Magic squad and a Boston Celtics team that is without their best player and just showing off why they won the NBA championship this last year and why they are still favorites to win it this season. From there, we're going to take a look at the Knicks and Pistons. We're going to preview that game 3 happening later tonight. Overall, there's nothing that much else that needs to be said there. 1-1 series going back to Detroit. Detroit having their first playoff series in years, winning their first playoff game since 2008. Having an incredible bounce back season, an incredibly young team. And then a New York Knicks team that's kind of struggling a little bit on the offensive end, really just looking really discombobulated. That's the word that comes to mind when I personally think of the New York Knicks. And yeah, overall, we're going to take a look at that series. And then to finish the show, we're going to take a look at DeMar DeRozan and some news that came out about him recently and what to expect from him in his future, whether he stays with the Kings, and we'll get into what his future might entail later on in the show. But before I go any further, I'd like to remind you guys to please like and follow the show for more GSMC Sports Network content. Also, we get a number of questions from viewers that come in during the show. So to ensure that your question gets read on air, ask that you use the tips and donations link at gsmcpodcast.net. This puts your question at the top of the list so I see it, and it also really helps out the show. Again, the link is gsmcpodcast.net for all your questions and comments. But getting right back into it here for the good stuff. We had Warriors and Rockets square off last night in what was honestly easily the best game of the night. It wasn't close. Two teams that have a storied past. Well, we all remember back in the day in the Western Conference Finals when these two teams used to square off in the James Harden days. Steph Curry obviously still there. Draymond Green still there. Steve Kerr still there. We still have Ime Udoka who vividly remembers that 2022 finals when the Warriors took out his Boston Celtics when he was the head coach of the Boston Celtics back then. Yeah, and this new Rockets team is still a great team, a very young, revamped team built around a core group of guys on the defensive end of the ball, and overall really figuring out their offensive identity as this season has gone on. Very similar to the Detroit Pistons in the Eastern Conference, with a very young defensive core group of guys, with Cade Cunningham emerging as the offensive threat. For the Houston Rockets, it was Jalen Green. It has been Jalen Green all season long. He's been averaging about 26 points a game, about 5 rebounds, 6 assists a game, playing unbelievable basketball overall. And yeah, I mentioned it at the top of the show. He heard all the critics in game 1. As a fan, as a person watching the game, I thought that the Houston Rockets in game 1 looked like their offense was going to be their Achilles heel. It looked like that offense was going to be the reason why the Golden State Warriors won most of their games. I really thought so. I thought both the play of Steph Curry in game 1 dancing all over Amen Thompson, shooting crazy threes, making crazy threes, stopping Houston Rockets' momentum swings by himself, making shots, being an offensive spark. Just the power that Steph Curry has from the three-point line was going to be too much for this Houston Rockets team to overcome as a team, especially with a young offensive core group that was shooting so bad. I believe Jalen Green only had less than 15 points in game one. Fred VanVleet shot two of 14 from 3-point range. Just overall, just a very bad performance. Outside of Alperen Şengün, who had his way in the interior, having 28 points, I believe, in game one, the rest of the team was just abysmal. So, yeah, just overall, I thought that Achilles heel from an offensive standpoint was going to be too much for the Houston Rockets to overcome. And then there was game two. Last night, Jalen Green hurt. I say it, this is the third time I've said it. He hurt. He heard all of the critics last night, scoring 38 points in game two, flat out showing out. The Houston Rockets took this game to the Golden State Warriors last night. They did not let Golden State have any breathing room, have any room to go on runs, go on their little, have Steph Curry go on runs, have Steph Curry spark this offense. They took control of this game early on. They took the momentum and never looked back. They won basically every quarter outside of the fourth quarter when the Warriors won by 1 point. And yeah, that's really all that needs to be said. The Warriors had their hands full in this game, and the Rockets defense held strong, but their offense was the key to this game. This Houston Rockets offense was lights out in this one. I mentioned Jalen Green having 38 points, shooting 13 of 25, 8 of 18 from 3-point range. Just overall, the team shooting about 37% from 3-point range. Overall, it was just a great performance. And major props to Amen Thompson for his defensive assignment on Steph Curry. Finishing with, he didn't have any steals or blocks, but still, he still finished with 11 points. Still a great game from him. Steph Curry having one of his more calmer shooting nights, 6 of 15, only about 20 points. He was the leading scorer for the Golden State Warriors. Just overall, this was the Houston Rockets show last night. This was the Houston Rockets game, and honestly, they needed this one. If we're being 100% transparent, this Houston Rockets team was in the same position that the Los Angeles Lakers were in last night against the Minnesota Timberwolves. The problem is a lot of people aren't going to call it that because the Los Angeles Lakers were favorites to beat the Timberwolves versus the Rockets. A lot of people picking the Warriors over the Rockets. Even though we're all expecting it to be a 7-game series, myself included. But this has more to do with the Houston Rockets than it has to do with the Golden State Warriors. Flat out, period. As nothing else. There's not much else needs to be said about that. There is one other thing that needs to be said that we do need to talk about here. That I wish I had an injury update on him, but I don't think the news has come out yet, unfortunately. Jimmy Butler, a player that he's named playoff Jimmy Butler for a reason. We've known him for years. We've known him from his days in Miami when he took two Miami teams that really we didn't expect much out of. We didn't expect him to make the NBA Finals, especially that 8-seeded Miami Heat team. That same Jimmy Butler being taken out of this game. Best way to call it is he went up for a layup. Amen Thompson pretty much undercut him. I'm not sure if they called that flagrant foul on Amen Thompson on that play, but basically undercut him as Jimmy Butler went up, and Jimmy Butler just falling pretty much on his lower back, on his buttocks, and in immediate pain. If you remember back in the day when Steph Curry landed in that position and was out, he was out for about I believe he was out for 3 to 4 weeks with a lower back injury. I believe like he fractured or chipped or cracked something in his back. Overall, it was just a tough scene to see. And we wish Jimmy Butler, nothing but the best. Hopefully he'll be back quick, fast, and in a hurry because the Warriors need him. I will not lie. This Warriors team it's offensively lenient on two guys, in Steph Curry and Jimmy Butler. We love Brandon Pajimski. We love the addition of Brandon Post, of Draymond Green continuing to play well, off facilitating the ball. We loved Buddy Hield. There's a lot of role players on this Golden State Warriors team. And Brandon Pajimski is possibly growing to be a number 3 option for this Warriors team. He is. And he's growing into that role. But he's not there yet. He's not reliable yet. He is not there yet. You cannot give him that expectation because he is nowhere near. If we're going to compare him to a number 3 option, compare him to an Austin Reeves. Compare him to a Chet Holmgren or a Jalen Williams on the Oklahoma City Thunder. Compare him to a Mike Conley. You can't compare him. You can't compare him to any of these guys that I just mentioned because he's not at that level yet. He's a baby. He's still, I think this is his 3rd year in the NBA. He's still a baby in the NBA. He's still growing up. He still needs time to grow up in the playoffs, to grow into his role, to just get more games under his belt. Just overall, just mature into an NBA player. So he needs more time. But yeah, this Warriors team needs Jimmy Butler to be healthy. Jimmy Butler, obviously, we know him to be a warrior. We like beyond the acronym of just beyond the title of being a part of the Golden State Warriors. He embodies that name. Especially we know him as playoff Jimmy Butler. We've seen him go down with injuries. We've seen him come back into games, in games that we don't expect him to come back in. I'm trying to think. I believe, didn't he have a knee injury back in the day in 2023 in that game 6 when he dropped 45 points against Boston? I just know this off the top of my head because I'm 85% sure that is a thing that happened. But Jimmy Butler is a warrior. Is a guy that comes out in games and does not shy away from the big moments, does not shy away from injuries. Injuries do not deter him. He's a guy that comes out on the court, gives his best effort, plays from the first tip to the final to the final buzzer, and that's that. He shows up, he plays, and he doesn't. He leaves everything out on the court. Plain and simple. There's nothing else to really say. But yeah, overall, the Warriors need Jimmy Butler to be back in this series if they want a chance to beat this Rockets team. That is just how good the Houston Rockets are this year. That is at the level I'd put them at because the Rockets are a great team. You cannot underrate the Rockets at all. You cannot underrate them from a defensive standpoint. Without Jimmy Butler on the floor, Steph Curry is absolutely just left wide open to be double teamed. You leave him out for the double team, and that is it. If you leave him out to dry right like that, he's going to be, especially against a stellar defensive player like Amen Thompson. We remember at the end of April when Amen Thompson had the defensive assignment on Steph Curry, a major reason why a lot of people are picking the Houston Rockets to win this series. Steph Curry shot 1 for 10 from 3-point range, only had 3 points in a game that the Warriors lost in a similar fashion to this one. Not as much of an offensive performance from the Rockets in that game, but the defense was no joke in that game. Was nothing to sneeze at, was nothing to underrate. So, Jimmy Butler needs to come back in this series flat out, and that's all that really needs to be said in that discussion. We'll have more of an update for him in the upcoming playoff series. Anthony, I do see your comment, but I do need to hit a quick short break. When we come back, we're going to take a look at the Celtics Magic series, and I will respond to your comment, Anthony, when I come back from break. We're going to talk we're going to recap that Celtics Magic game 2. Be right back, guys.